So many of these poems had been based on lots of 1890s models. They've kind of thought about what it is, these kind of symbolist or decadent poetry poems were thinking about. They thought about the kind of conclusions that these poems had headed towards. Those poems, so many of them are characteristically poems of stasis, poems being stalled, poems not really going anywhere, because those poems were sitting there at some kind of apocalyptic moment. And that apocalyptic moment famously is in Yeats's poem, The Valley of the Black Pig, which is stuck, stalled by a flaming door. This also is somehow charging upon the land, with charging upon the shore, foam about their knees, about this kind of strange apocalyptic army which is coming somehow to clear everything away from everything that has gone before. They come shaking in triumph their long green hair. It says, what happened to the golden hair of the sequence? Well, it's been traded in for this long green hair of these things that are coming out of the sea. What are these things coming out of the sea? Why have we traded in our symbolist sequence for this all of a sudden historically changing moment? What is it that has happened here? My love, my love, my love, why have you left me alone? It ends. There is, in a way, an extraordinary blasphemy here, because of course the last words of Christ on the cross have been, my Father, to ask his Father, why has he forsaken me? But the lover who is here forsaken at the end can use or allude to those particular words because he's thinking about something which has been utterly changed. That utter change is something which is a movement from this kind of symbolist or late romantic or indeed Renaissance or Elizabethan poetry, and it's trading in for something else. And the final trade, which I'm thinking about this, is the trade into modernism. And this is the one poem in this sequence which had ended up in Ezra Pound's anthology of Imagist poems. The only poem that Pound thought that he could take and put in there as his examples of the modern poem. Joyce didn't know it, certainly in 1907 he probably didn't know it, or certainly in 1903 or 1902 whenever he'd finished these poems, what it is that was going to come next. But this is somehow prescient of that modernist move, of something which has been left behind in the 19th century to do with symbolism, to do with romanticism, and to do with other types of a kind of a formalized lyricism, and the trading in for the kind of experiment and innovation in the new art which was following behind. This seems to be thinking that this change is coming. The change hasn't come in the poem, but it will be coming. So in a strange way, it does look back to what has been left behind from the love affair, but it looks forward to something which is coming to replace it. That is the coming 20th century, and there are many, many ways in which we can think about the horrors of that century are worked through this particular poem. The uncertainty before the future is something that this poem thinks about, and that uncertainty in the future it thinks about as dream and of fantasy, but also indeed of change.